Alright. I set up YouTube again. It's... Alright. Alright. Yeah, there it is. Okay. We're good. Okay. I have to do that for each individual video, I guess. No workarounds, I guess. Alright. Alright, so guess that works. If I can find out where those are. Alright. Hello. Alright. Okay, small update, I guess. For my YouTube videos, I was trying to record a higher quality version so I could upload it later, but that's not working. It's a 5 GB file per video at 720p, which it's not working. And so I realized it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna downscale it to like 360, maybe, see if that works out better or more feasible. Alright. Also, yesterday I went to a place where I could download things after work and tried to upload the video, but it wasn't working. I also, however, managed to download the mod for Umineko. I haven't put it back on this computer yet because I had to use my portable one to do that. So, next time we might be able to see the new sprites, maybe even the voices, but honestly I kind of prefer not to. I'd like to be able to read it myself. But yeah, well, next time I'll be trying to get the sprites. Woo! I really do need to figure out a way to put the stickers on the stream. I know there's something for it, but... Alright, oh cool, yeah. And I like the PS3 ones. They're a bit different. I like the faces of the current sprites, but everything else of the PS3 sprites looks a bit better. Anywho. Without further ado, let's... Oh, well. Small recap of where we were. Episode 1 finished. We went to the tea party, met Beatrice, kind of. And her odd blue-haired friend who said she was going to help us or something. And then we started episode 2, where it was George and Shannon, and then their encounter at the mansion here. Apparently the difficulty level is extreme on this chapter though, and it's starting from the get-go, even though it hasn't. I don't know. We'll see. And we left off, Shannon, George, and Jessica left the room and are at the Rose Garden. talking about tea, namely Earl Grey and such, I believe. Alright, so, now, without further ado, let's get back into the story. The three of them lazily walked around the garden, catching up on recent events. George, as the oldest cousin, talked about his life experiences. Jessica talked about recent life on Rokkenjima, and Shannon talked about her recent work. They kept going on about these trivial things. Even when Shannon heard the others talk about deeply interesting things, she never felt any particular interest in the actual content of their stories. She was nothing more than a servant, and she had no intention of delving into her master's lives. She simply wanted them to enjoy their time speaking with her, and would only pretend to listen intently and nod at the right moments. But for some reason, the things George talked about today seemed to catch her interest powerfully. Even things she'd normally ignore felt like they contained a trace of kindness behind the words. For some reason, she wanted to know more things about George, no matter how trivial. So, she stared fixedly at him. She thought that as far as looks went, this Ushirmiya George was probably about average and didn't stick out in any particular way. But he was diligent, serious, and had a deep prudence which allowed him to understand people's hearts and show concern. But she'd never noticed these things before now. She may not have met him many times, but she'd known his face for many years. Even so, she hadn't noticed once until now. Shannon, embarrassed by her own obliviousness, blushed. George, perhaps thinking that Shannon would listen intently to his stories, kept talking happily and at length about things he'd done and seen. But Jessica didn't miss that slight change in Shannon, though she decided she'd change the conversation to the topic she was sure Shannon was most interested in. "Oh yeah, come to think of it, George Nissan, have you finally gotten a girlfriend, or what?" "Where did that come from?" Normally that reaction should have been answer enough, but for some reason, as she was now, Shannon wouldn't be able to understand it unless he had said it clearly. George-sama is very nice, so I'm sure, he's very popular." "Well, there..." Quit it, Shannon. Isn't cornering him like that actually pretty mean? I wasn't trying to be mean. Well, I'm flattered that you have that mistaken impression of me. But unfortunately, I still haven't had a relationship with any particular girl. After all, my looks are below average, as you can see, and I can't speak tactfully in a way that can entertain a girl. I don't think that's true, and I think a man's charm is decided by something that can't be measured by his appearance. That's why, I think you might be considered a very attractive man, George-sama." Shannon was being uncharacteristically verbose. She hardly ever spoke at such length. George seemed fairly pleased to hear someone applaud his charm like this, but he was just a little surprised at this sudden high praise. Jessica, now sure her guess was spot on, appeared to be barely holding back laughter. "Thank you, Shannon-chan. I hope I do bump into a girl who's generous enough to feel attracted to me before too long." "Yes, I'm sure you'll run into one. I'm sure there's at least one. No, a lot of girls who will recognize your real charm." You probably want to say that there were at least one girl very close to him. Shannon avoided saying that much, trying a final line as a servant. Really? I guess I'm kind of embarrassed." He had probably never been praised as heavily by a girl before. George's face turned just as bright red as Shannon's. As she watched the two of them, Jessica giggled sadistically. "Well, I'm sure you'll eventually bump into a wonderful partner, George Nissan. But I doubt you'll be able to properly escort your partner as you are now, right? It looks like you're diligent, but you've completely abandoned your study of that." "Sorry about that. I'll start studying that bit by bit." "And how do you plan to do that all by yourself? Are you gonna watch romance movies or something? Or are you gonna learn from Uncle Hideyoshi?" "Well, you're acting pretty triumphant." Men are no match for girls when it comes to this sort of thing. Normally, when George and Jessica got together, their parents would say George is diligent and admirable, and Jessica is lazy and rude. So it was probably unbearable fun for Jessica to have the roles finally reversed. George realized this as well, so he resigned himself to being the one getting teased for once. So, George Nissan, as long as you're okay with it, why not practice a bit with Shannon? It'll be your job to keep Shannon entertained all day long on a date. What do you think? What are you... lady? When she heard Jessica's audacious plan, Shannon's face turned bright red with a poof, and a donut of smoke started to rise from her head. That's a very tempting plan, but I wouldn't want to burden Shannon-chan. It'd just end up wasting one of her precious days off, wouldn't it? I'd be butting in on that sacred time that she should be standing alone with someone she really likes. I couldn't do something so boorish. I also, don't have a person I have feelings for or anything, so, there's no need to hold back for my sake. Shannon's blood had all rushed to her head, and it looked like even she didn't know what she was babbling about. Jessica, who knew how Shannon normally was, seemed to be finding this hilarious. She couldn't hide her cackling laughter anymore. Is that true? I can't believe a cute girl like you would be single, Shannon-chan. I am a servant, so, of course I don't have any relationships with boys, which means that if Shannon never wants a chance at getting herself a wonderful guy, she needs practice with relationships too, right? So, you both want the same thing. Sweet, that'll be perfect. Jessica irresponsibly cheered the two of them on. By now, even George was hanging his head and turning red. George, I've been calling to you for a while now. Didn't you hear me? When Eva appeared in what was already an embarrassing situation, both of them got even more flustered. Jessica watched and laughed loudly. Ah, Mother. Sorry, I was so engrossed in our conversation. I didn't notice. Oh, Eva-sama, you have my deepest apologies. It looks like you young kids are getting really fired up together. You're all about that age. Oh, I know how your kids your age can talk about that sort of thing forever. Ah, come on, you're still young yourself, Aunt Eva. Please tell us how you and Uncle Hideyoshi met. Oh my, there's no way I could say that. You all really are so young. So what is it, Mother? You called because you wanted something, right? Your father and the rest have finished talking. We're going to talk to Grandfather about you, so come on. About me? What could that be? The same thing you were all talking about just now. You know what I mean, right? Oh, that. That isn't really something we need to talk to Grandfather about, right? What's going on? Wait, George Nissan, are you getting married? Congratulations. No. Didn't I just say I didn't have a particular woman I was interested in? That isn't something to brag about, is it? Good grief. Eva smiled bitterly, looking a little exasperated. Oh, I get it. George Nissan, it's one of those, right? And Omiai, a marriage meeting. A marriage meeting, you say? Well, yeah. Surely, as a man, George wanted to find a partner by himself and bring her home with him. Though it seemed he thought it a bit pathetic to meet his partner for the first time in a marriage meeting arranged by his parents. Shouldn't marriage meetings be done at a more mature age? I still don't feel like I've become a full-fledged adult. Of course, we have no desire to rush into an immediate engagement or marriage, right? There's nothing wrong with deepening your friendship first, and then having her move to our family register after you've gotten older and settled down. Judging by Eva's forceful attitude and George's non-committal one, the others could catch a glimpse of the story behind this marriage meeting. They didn't know who George was supposed to be meeting, but it was surely someone who would profit Eva's family in a business sense. The very fact that they'd be satisfied with a mere engagement to deepen the relationship between the two families, rather than an immediate marriage, made it feel almost like a political maneuver. You see, marriage isn't something you should enter into only after you start liking someone. You marry first, and then you adjust. If you marry based purely on emotion, you'll always end up regretting it. There's certainly nothing wrong with choosing a person with a secure background for your partner in life, and then developing your affection later. Diva, isn't that kind of rude to Uncle Hideyoshi? I love that man. I want to always be with him and to live my life by his side. Diva-sama, that's wonderful. Really splendid. Thank you. But we built up those feelings while we were husband and wife, you see. And I believe that in the future we will be much, much closer than we are now. I think that's what's best for a married couple. Still, I don't think you can use that to argue that it's okay to marry someone you don't even like. Oh, I forgot to change the title. But it also doesn't mean that it's okay to marry anyone as long as you like them. Alright, let's actually see if I can change that. Give me 1 sec. But it also doesn't mean it's okay to marry anyone as long as you like them. It only takes an instant to get married, but your life as a married couple will last a long, long time after that. So you should search with prudence and avoid making decisions based on momentary emotions. Don't you think a matter like this would be better handled by us, rather than a person lacking in life experience such as yourself? Okay, that should do it. That may be true, but I'm proud of you, my only son. You've grown magnificently, and I'm sure you'll do us proud no matter where you go. And now that Battler-kun has left the family register, you are father's only male grandchild carrying his blood. We must prudently choose a fitting partner for you. As everyone related to the Ushiromiya family knew, Eva adored George immensely. But that didn't mean she had pampered him. She had been strict with him and had raised him into a wonderful boy who wouldn't betray her expectations. That was why she treasured him so. Your partner certainly won't be selected based on your parents' profit and loss. I'll bring you a suitable and truly wonderful woman. At this moment, your maturity might make this seem unpleasant to you. But if you're going to take my advice on anything, listen to me now. Have I ever failed to act in your best interest? No, you haven't. That's enough for now. Well, let's go. We're keeping father waiting. Hurry to the mansion. Well, sorry you two. See you later. George bowed to the two of them, and after bowing once more to Shannon, he dashed off to the mansion. I'll be going with him. Forgive me for interrupting such an entertaining conversation, Jessica-chan, Shannon-chan. No, please don't worry about it. Come on, Shannon. Let's go. Yes. It's okay. I'm sure you'll meet someone wonderful soon, too, Jessica-chan. A wonderful person suitable to you. So, if he's at the same level as me, you mean a guy with shit grades? That kinda pisses me off. And of course you too, Shannon-chan. I'm sure that a wonderful man suitable for you will appear. Yes, thank you very much. As Eva giggled and smiled, she approached Shannon's ear with a hand over her mouth as though she was trying to tell her a secret. Huh? I'm sure you'll find a perfect match for a lowly servant like yourself. Have you forgotten to be grateful for your education? Know your place. That's not what I meant. George is the eldest grandson carrying father's blood. He's a person who may bear the burden of the Ushiromiya family someday in the future. To answer to that expectation, he has studied tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and is getting wonderful grades. Did you really think you could snatch George away, you uneducated, incompetent, unqualified, uncultured servant? Those malicious words all poured into Shannon's ear without spilling a drop. To Shannon, it was like cold water was being poured in there. I didn't mean... This was all whispered to Shannon in secret, and with the same smile as before. Jessica, who could only see Eva's expression, didn't think it was anything other than Eva telling Shannon some embarrassing story about love. When their secret conversation ended, Eva patted Shannon's shoulders as though she was urging her on. Don't worry. I'm sure they'll find a perfect match for a partner. Right? Okay, Jessica-chan. See you later. Yeah, see you later. And make sure you tell me about you and Uncle Hideyoshi next time. No way. Eva laughed loudly and headed back to the entrance hall. Behind Jessica, who was cheerfully waving her hand, Shannon reflected very, very deeply on those words of Eva's about knowing her place. Well, wasn't that just lovely? It's time for me to take a serious look at how full of myself I've been acting. I forgot. I'm furniture. Furniture isn't human. So, I am a being who must feel gratitude for even being treated like a human, and I am not permitted to wish for anything more. People sometimes develop affection for furniture they're used to using, but that is an emotion of the human side, and the furniture has no right to hope for such a thing. It's enough that furniture serves with simple honesty day after day. That feeling I got when talking to George-sama and Jessica-sama is the same as a forbidden drug to me. In other words, it may be an emotion I must never experience. Shannon, you've had your head in the clouds for some time now. Do you not feel well? No. My apologies. Natsuhi's words were right on the mark. Even Shannon couldn't believe that she hadn't noticed Natsuhi until she had called. Normally, it was essential that she focused on her cleaning at this time of day, but she'd spent all her time sighing and hardly making any progress. Even when there aren't any guests around, you must always be alert. Behavior like this is shameful for an Ushiromiya family servant. Yes, ma'am. I will take care from now on. The head and my husband will return very soon. Have you finished cleaning the study? Have you finished cleaning the staircase? My apologies, not yet. Yes, I know. So I had Lunan do it. While you were plodding around cleaning the hallway, she finished cleaning the study and the staircase. That's because, I wanted to clean it properly, so it took some time. Shannon was simple and honest, so she would always carry out her tasks seriously and properly without any omissions. So she was always slow with her work. In contrast, Lunan cleverly avoided doing extra work whenever it was possible. So, she could complete her jobs with a result that looked almost the same to an outsider, but in a much shorter time. In other words, she was a shrewd employee. Compared to that, it's probably fair to say that Shannon wasn't very shrewd at all, talking back to Natsuhi when Natsuhi was in a bad mood. Of course, there was nothing that Natsuhi couldn't stand more than a servant talking back. Her forehead creased and she spoke sternly, and yet her slow, admonishing style of speech was even more terrifying, and finally made Shannon realize she had said the wrong thing. Then perhaps you should aim to do a truly thorough cleaning. Shannon, I order you to clean the reception hall right now. It is an important hall where several pictures treasured by the head are displayed, and where honored guests of the Ushiromiya family are welcomed. Clean it thoroughly so that not a speck of dust remains, and so that even you are satisfied. Of course, you will finish before the day is out. Until you finish that and report to me, you will not be permitted any food or rest. Understood? Yes, madame. That is good. Servants should endeavor to only use those words. Next time you talk back, your punishment will be even more severe. So with that in mind, engrave these words into your heart. Yes, madame. Thank you for your guidance. You are welcome. Behaving as though her headache was troubling her, Natsuhi headed off down the corridor. When she couldn't see her anymore, Shannon hung her head and sighed. This was what happened when she had her head in the clouds. Even though I'm bad at everything I do, I should be able to at least carry out the cleaning as well as an average person can, right? It's because I can't even perform that very well that I'm crying so pathetically. But what's even more shameful is that not only have I been unable to perform a single bit of cleaning well, but just now when Natsuhi was scolding me, I imagined that person appearing and rescuing me. If only George-sama were here. Would he casually step in and save me? Surely he'd show up cheerfully, intentionally acting like he didn't know what was going on, nimbly changing the subject and making me forget I'd ever been rebuked by Natsuhi. I kept envisioning him, suddenly appearing from the other side of the door, or the other end of the hallway. I envisioned the kind of person that would be an appropriate partner for him in a marriage meeting. and I envisioned how unfitting I was for him. Eva clearly told me. It's been repeating over and over in my dreams. You're still as clumsy as always, Nae-san. Milady has been in a bad mood since this morning. That just now happened because you talked too much when you should have just hung your head in silence. Canon-kun. Canon was suddenly there. His footsteps were always quieter than a cat's, and he never left any trace of his presence. He probably could have stood there forever, and she still wouldn't have noticed him. The expression on Canon's face was one of hatred. He made that expression for Shannon, who didn't know how to do it herself. Madame and Lunan can fall into hell. That person knows where Madame checks and only cleans those areas. Her cleaning just now was like that. I know, because I saw. She wasn't really cleaning. She's just the worst kind of parasite, leeching off your thorough cleaning. You mustn't use such dirty words. Dirty words pollute your clean soul, Canon-kun. At least don't use those words in front of me, okay? Canon turned away as though sulking. It was a reaction that hid his true feelings, which was very like Canon. But I was a little happy. He was getting mad for my sake. Cleaning the reception hall will be tough. I'll help. Thank you. But I was the one Madame ordered, so don't worry. Don't you also have your own work, Canon-kun? It's a filthy job. My soul was polluted long ago. Canon then hung his head and bit his lower lip. Just hearing you say you'll help is enough for me. If you don't go back to your own job, then you'll be punished as well. And that would make me sad. Shannon knew Canon's character well. Sometimes he didn't think enough about himself. If I don't refuse forcefully, he'll help me, even if it means neglecting his own job. Canon was a little sad that his goodwill had been rejected, but he realized what she was doing would only hurt her more in the end, and he gave a single, small sigh. Understood. Do your best, Nae-san. Yes, and I am also partly to blame. You aren't at fault at all, Nae-san. No, I am. So go now. Canon-kun's face showed that he still hadn't completely accepted it, but without being any more obstinate, he disappeared. Even though Canon-kun came to give me words of comfort when I was down. Even so, I was dejected again because I wasn't him. That in itself was a sin. It went far beyond any dream the likes of me could be permitted to see. I don't know my place. Shannon, who had neglected breakfast, already felt her concentration beginning to waver. But if she didn't finish up cleaning the reception hall, she wouldn't receive Natsuhi's permission to eat. That cruel Natsuhi had surely told the kitchen something to that effect. I have to respectfully receive Madame's punishment. That's right. My position in the world is furniture, and I've been intoxicated by a dream that's beyond me. I finished cleaning the hallway and went to the reception hall. Maybe my hunger made my nose more sensitive. I could sense the delicious aroma wafting from the kitchen, even though it was far away, and my empty stomach was encouraged even more. Until I finished up here, I wouldn't get any soup. I just had to resolve myself to doing it. Several portraits were hung in the reception hall. One of those portraits was thought to hold a special meaning among the servants. It was the portrait of the witch. That wasn't its true name, but everyone in the mansion called it that. The name of the woman with elegant blonde hair, drawn as the subject of that portrait, was Beatrice. It was whispered that she might be the former mistress of Kinzo, the family head, and also that she was the great witch who had given Kinzo the gold of the legend. The witch, Beatrice, master of the night on Rokkenjima. She was gracious to those who respected her, but she would surely curse those who made light of her. It was in Shannon's character not to neglect rules and beliefs such as those. So she thought of the portrait of her other masters as that person herself, and always treated it carefully, treasuring it. And it had become part of her daily routine to tell the witch, who only existed inside the portrait, the secrets of her heart. She was furniture. Furniture doesn't complain. cannot complain, so she had no right to speak her mind about her difficult days. She had no right to open her mouth and say those words. So, she at least spoke her mind inside her heart. She spoke her mind inside her heart using words she couldn't say aloud, and protested to the formless witch. Of course, the witch didn't answer. She didn't console, and she didn't laugh it off. Janet could only interpret that silence as she liked, as though the witch was responding agreeably. Beatrice-sama, please listen to the story of my worthless self. As Shannon wiped the dust from the witch's portrait, she spoke that inside her heart. I certainly am incompetent and uncultured, just as Eva-sama said. I am not a person, so maybe I have no right to love. But in that case, why was I given a heart that can know love? At that point, Shannon held back her tears for a moment. The sound of the rain, which had started falling along with the chill air in the reception hall, made her feel as though her shabbiness had increased another level. Real furniture doesn't have anything like a heart. They don't have to love people, right? So they don't feel pain. If I'm just another piece of furniture, why do I have a heart? If it's going to be this painful and this harsh, I wish I was never given a heart like this. I see. So a heart was given to furniture. It would seem that even that man is capable of some quite amusing things every now and then. What? The witch that never answered or laughed, answered, and laughed. Was it my imagination? Was I hearing things? No, that's wrong. After all, the next word became a voice, and I could hear them. Not with my heart, but with my ears. Humans have continually searched for the elements that make up the world since before the modern era. It is said that in ancient times the Greeks tried explaining the world with the four elements of wind, fire, water, and earth, and after that, over several millennia, humans added several elements to those four, trying to explain the world with several interpretations such as the 5 elements, the 6 elements, the 7 elements, the 8 elements, and the 12 elements. But they were never able to describe the one sole truth that exists, the single element. However, a single man appeared by the guidance of a star and finally explained the single element that makes up the world. Know what it is? Oh, who? Jen and fearfully turned around. Right there, she existed. Not as an illusion, but as a reality. The contrast made by the lightning made it clear that this was no mere daydream. It's love. The witch of the portrait elegantly held a golden pipe to her mouth and giggled. She laughed at the ignorance that causes humankind's thoughts to stray far from the most simple answer. That man explained everything in the world with love. That is the single element. That man fully explained how the world was constructed with the smallest possible number. How simple and clear, how splendid, exhilarating, pleasant, and thrilling. The year that man was finally born is called the start of the modern era. Shannon lost any words to speak. She thought that when first meeting an unknown guest, her first word should be to ask that person's name. But without saying anything, Shannon knew this person's name, so she refrained. No, sure that would be the greatest disrespect for someone who lived or worked on this island to ask this woman her name. After all, she was the other master of this island, besides Kinzo. Beatrice-sama. Indeed, I am Beatrice. Even after 1,000 years, I see that people still always give me that look when we first meet. The witch giggled at how Shannon's reaction didn't betray her expectations. Shannon realized that she had met with a being that mustn't be met with, and she took a step backwards. That's where the wall and the portrait were, so even as she gazed at the witch's portrait was touching her back. The source of your troubles is love. Love, the single element that makes up this world. In other words, it is everything in this world. When it is lacking, then your world is lacking too. It is no different from scooping water into a canteen with a hole in it. Even if you scoop and scoop, that eternal desert of the heart never fills. It is the original sin that humans are founded upon and everything is made of. Understand? When Adam and Eve put the fruit of knowledge to their lips, love is what they learned of. Because of that, humans were chased out of the garden and became fully human. Which means that knowing love and suffering is what makes one human. You kind-hearted child. You ought to be praised. Now that you have gained this knowledge, you are no longer furniture. You are now human. I recognize that with all the authority of my name. Is it hard for a common person to understand? Very well, then. Forgive me. It has been a long time since I have spoken with a human. Allow me to apologize for my talkativeness. Without waiting for a reply from Shannon, Beatrice left pleasantly for a while. Perhaps this isn't much by way of an apology, but I would be willing to grant that wish of yours with my power if you so desire. Huh? The meaning of those words surprised Shannon even more than the witch's sudden appearance. I am offering to bring you and the one you love together. Normally, I would demand something of equal value in return. However, I am in a good mood, and you have never failed to pay your respects to me in the past. That is something worth rewarding. Is that true? Normally, Shannon would have been shocked and struck dumb by this seemingly impossible guess. However, almost as though she was already under the witch's spell, Shannon responded. With my magic, it would be no trouble at all to arrange for you to be joined with the one you love. Yes, of course. Shannon almost said that without thinking, but held back with her last bit of common sense. After all, this is a witch. A sinister being. The witch Beatrice is clearly trying to slip in through the cracks of my heart and take me prisoner. That sort of temptation, which so many fairy tale picture books warned me about when I was young, is right in front of me now. Fear is also a form of respect. It may be pleasant for me, but we will make no progress this way. I may not differ much from the image of a detestable witch that you hold in your mind. However, I do bestow my favor upon those who respect me. Aren't humans the same? Well, I doubt any human would bestow a favor upon one with such a hostile attitude. My apologies. I didn't mean... Shannon eventually realized how rude she was acting towards this guest, and she finally digested the words that had been spoken to her a short while ago. You are no longer furniture. Now you are human. As she reflected upon those words, Shannon felt as though the witch understood all her worries. What was that, just now, about a reward? I say that I can arrange for you to be joined with a man who has captured your heart. Think of it as a sign of my gratitude for your diligence in polishing my portrait day after day. Calm yourself. I ask for nothing in return. I am generous. However, though I ask for nothing in return, I do have a request. Look, here it comes. Part of Shannon's heart sent her a warning. This is what all those scary picture books she'd read when she was little had warned her about. Do you know of the small torii and shrine that have been constructed on the ocean very near this island, which you can see when you gaze at the cliffs? Shannon immediately remembered it. When you reached Rokkenjima by boat, there was this torii and a shrine on a reef that was too small to be called even an islet. I'm pretty sure Kumasawa-san told me its history, but I can't remember it well. A traveling shugenja, a kind of holy man, had built it or prayed there or something. Yes, I know about it. But why do you bring it up? I will not explain everything, including the very basics, to one ignorant of demons. Simply put, it's causing me trouble. The truth is, there's a mirror kept inside that shrine. I want you to break it. It is quite a suspicious request. Shannon didn't know the details, but anything stored inside a shrine would have to be something sacred. As she wants me to break it? Why would a witch ask a human for help instead of doing it herself? There is no need for Shannon to speak her thoughts aloud. Beatrice responded to Shannon's reasonable doubt before Shannon could give her answer. The magical power of that mirror opposes my own. I cannot explain it well with human words. For example, let us speak of the differences between utensils. That mirror is a fork, and my power is soup. You cannot drink soup with a fork, correct? If only the resistance to that mirror were gone, I could produce a spoon ideal for drinking soup. After that, I could drink soup as I pleased, and even dig my way out of a rocky prison. I could even gouge someone's eye out with it. Was that not the phrase? Yes, it was. I don't know what you're talking about. If my poor education is to blame, I apologize. It comes down to this. If you take action and break that annoying mirror for me, I shall grant your wish as a reward. I am in quite a good mood today. You may even change your wish and receive all the gold I bestowed upon Kinzo if you so desire. I refuse. What? When she heard Shannon's words, Beatrice realized for the first time that her expectations had been betrayed. If you have a reason, tell me. If there has been some misunderstanding, I shall resolve it. I don't really understand the reason, but up until now this island has been at peace, and nothing bad has happened. So even if I don't break the mirror, the peace that has existed until today should continue into the future. Yes, you are quite right. It's just as you say. If you don't break the mirror, the same unbreakable days that have passed until now will continue into tomorrow and the next day. I don't dare give you an absolute guarantee. I shall stake my name Beatrice on it. The unbreakable days before this time will continue into tomorrow and the next day, and for eternity and perpetuity. Shannon felt overwhelmed by an eerie illusion. The mirror probably existed for the purpose of restraining the witch. So if Shannon broke it, the person who stood to gain was supposedly the witch herself. Thank you. And yet, Shannon felt somehow that she had to do it for her own sake. It felt like some premise had been switched around. I will do nothing but grant you a chance to bring your feelings to fruition. It's up to you to decide whether you'll break it or not. If you break it, I shall grant your wish. If you don't, the tomorrows that come today, that came before today, will continue for all eternity. Your wish will not be granted for all time. Do you understand? Do you see what I mean? The witch was speaking. She was pressing Shannon, saying she must break the mirror if she ever wanted to be united with George. It was a declaration that Shannon's feelings would never be brought to fruition unless she broke it. Please, stop it. I don't want to hear something like that. It was never my goal to cause you pain. Oh well. When love leads to madness, that is when we see the true charm of humanity. Enjoy that emotion to your heart's content. However, if you wish to borrow my power, feel free to break that mirror at any time, and then you may yell my name and awaken me. I will certainly keep my promise. This way you should have no complaints, right? I won't force you to decide right now. Easy, is it not? Was it really such an easy thing to do? No, it certainly wasn't. Shannon, who was burning with infatuation and worried by love, being tempted constantly and eternally with a way out, was truly a cruel trial. I won't set a time limit on that promise, but there is a time limit on the magic that can grant your wish. That limit is not of my making. The one you love will decide it himself. You see my meaning? No, I don't understand. When the one you care for finds a partner to whom he ought to pledge his love, that limit will be reached. I may be a witch, but I am no demon. I possess no magic to tear apart a pair of those who love each other. The one you love will soon be attending a marriage meeting, yes? You may have stronger feelings for that man than anyone else in the world. However, that doesn't mean you are the most suitable partner for him, does it? I know with whom he will be having his marriage meeting. That girl is the most suitable for Umineko George in the entire world. She came from a good school, achieved good grades, and possesses both composure and thoughtfulness. She is more beautiful than you, wiser than you, more suitable than you. How could an ignorant, incompetent, uncultured girl like you be suitable? You know better than anyone. There are none less suitable than you. Even imagining that you and Umineko George could be joined is sinful and foolish. Foolish. You know your place. Have you forgotten to be grateful for your education? Know your place. George is the eldest grandson carrying father's blood. He's a person who may bear the burden of the Umineko family someday in the future. To answer to that expectation, he has studied tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and is getting wonderful grades. Did you really think you could snatch George away, you uncultured, incompetent, unqualified, uncultured servant? Stop it! Don't bully Shannon! Who the hell are you? At that time, as Shannon held her head, trying to protect her heart from the blade of Beatrice's words, Cannon ran in front of her. Cannon didn't care who this woman was. If this was an enemy tormenting Shannon, whom he loved and respected as a sister, nothing else mattered. Cannon-kun, stay back. This person is... It seemed Cannon also realized that the being standing before him was the witch of the portrait, and also that she was something to be feared. I simply wished to give Shannon a chance to claim her reward, but it seems I said too much and ended up hurting her. I must apologize for that. But I shall leave behind that promise as a reward to you. If you need my power, call me at any time. I have already told you how. Well then, let us call it a night. Hostile gazes may be pleasant, but they damage your beauty, yes? Disappear. I don't know who you are, but you're threatening Shannon. Don't ever show yourself again. Cannon's words seemed to deeply annoy the witch. Watch your language, lowborn. I may be gracious to those who respect me, but I am brutal to those who do not. While she still moved, the witch's face began to twist itself. Then, an oppressive feeling that couldn't be noticed with any of the five senses gradually filled the room. Even though they couldn't understand it, they immediately realized it was something terrifying. When you swim in the ocean and something large passes by in the water beneath you, you want to escape to land even before you learn what it is. That's exactly what this was like. Please stop, Beatrice-sama. Cannon-kun is still a child. I apologize for his language. Cannon placed his body between the witch and Shannon. There was tense sweat on his forehead. At that time, the witch certainly held Cannon's fate in the palm of her hand. She didn't even need to lift a finger. She held a grasp of his fate so tight that a single twist of her smile could easily crush it. Cannon understood that as well. Though he started sweating, his knees felt weak. However, Beatrice abruptly released that feeling of tension and laughed. Very well. If you ask, I will forgive you just this once. Cannon, is it? In deference to her, I shall forgive you tonight and send you off. You ought to thank me. Well then, let us call it a night. In parting, I shall leave you with a small souvenir. Hold out the palm of your left hands, you two. When Beatrice grinned broadly and snapped her fingers, their left hands stretched out in front of them against their will, and their palms opened. It was a strange sensation, as though only their left hands now belonged to someone else. It felt like only their left hands had become puppets, which were being pulled by strings hanging down from the ceiling. What are you trying to do? Cannon resisted, but he couldn't retract his hand of his own free will. Don't struggle. It will be over soon. When Beatrice held her pipe aloft, the gold-colored sparkling dust came out of the smoke and hovered in the air. That sparkle eventually became several gold butterflies. The beautiful butterflies danced freely throughout the reception hall, forming a fantastical and beautiful world. And two of those butterflies alighted on the palms of Shannon's and Cannon's hands. Ouch! There was a sharp pain, as though they had been burned. When the two of them tried to examine their palms, that hold of their bodies, which had been there a second ago, had gone without a trace. A mark? What is... There was now a tiny burn mark on the palm of her hand, and it was shaped like a butterfly. What is this supposed to be? Apparently Cannon had the same mark on his hand. He stared at the witch hatefully. A simple greeting. I have no hidden motive. It is nothing more than a bruise, so it will heal in just a few days. There's not even any need to care for it. I made that mark so that tomorrow you will not forget that I truly was here, and that I made a promise with you. An encounter with me can be quite shocking. Sometimes when the next morning comes, people try to think of such an encounter as a dream or an illusion. You ought to consider this slowly and carefully, Shannon. And you should probably take a good rest. Look at my mark tomorrow morning and try considering it again. I shall not coerce you in any way. You should freely decide your future by your own will. Still, to think that one could obtain the object of the desire for such a small price. Surely this would annoy to no end the greatest artists who write plays about blighted love. Well then, let us meet again when the chance arises. How entertaining it is to have a conversation again after so much time. Goodbye, furniture. Beatrice's body crumbled like smoke and blew away. It was golden smoke. No, a cloud of gold butterflies. They scattered in all directions inside the reception hall, leaving a golden splash before disappearing into thin air. After that, only the cold silence was left. It was so silent it made both of them think they might have been daydreaming until just a moment ago, which was why the witch had left those marks. She had done so to make it impossible for them to think of this as a daydream, as Shannon and Kennen remembered the butterfly bruises on their hands and the pain they'd felt when they'd been made. They kept standing still, stunned. And from that moment on, Shannon was tormented by days of suffering and conflict. Okay, a witch. This flies in the face of everything Battler was saying. Huh. What? What do you mean, separate rooms? Wait, you and George Nissan stayed in different rooms on purpose? Yes. Is it really so strange? Jessica's cheeks had been stuffed with the chocolate-coated Shinsuko biscuits that Shannon had brought as a present from Okinawa, and it all came flying out at Shannon when Jessica cried out. Shannon, why did you even go on a trip to Okinawa? You were even alone with George Nissan. Well, he said there was a huge aquarium in Okinawa and invited me to go. And I like fish and stuff. No, that's not the point. We're talking about a healthy guy and girl going on an overnight trip, right? And you're saying there wasn't even any hugs and kisses? And seriously, what's up with the guy and girl staying in different rooms? As for kisses, no comment. But we did hug. George-san's chest was warm. That's not the point. Ah, jeez. Why do couples like this exist? Jeez. I can't take it anymore. From Shannon's point of view, it was an incredibly happy trip for various reasons, but it looked like Jessica found their pace to be pretty irritating. For a while, Jessica chewed her present, complaining about romance and pretending to faint in agony on her bed. Shannon and George had chosen to go to Okinawa because there was a huge aquarium there. They did this because an aquarium had given them the opportunity to start going out. Since their relationship had started at an aquarium, having their first overnight trip also to be an aquarium must have held some commemorative value. That's a lot of times to say that word. That's like a huge commemorative turning point. And your first overnight trip. How could you not make all kinds of progress there? But instead, you both got separate rooms? A couple taking 2 single rooms? Ah, gee, seriously, what's wrong with you? But we are both unmarried. George-san says showing restraint is good manners for a couple. Like I said, the whole point of this overnight trip was so you could overcome that stage, right? You should be way beyond just kissing and hugging by now. Well, lady, I don't know what you mean by that. But George-sama was a real gentleman with me until the end. That is, I mean, I also wondered if those things would happen, you know, but even though we were going out, I mean, it's not like we're married or anything. These things you seem to be expecting, should only be done after making a vow before God, and no. Shannon's face got bright red. She made a circle with both hands, restlessly intertwining, separating, and making heart marks with them. Apparently, the dramatic progress Jessica had looked forward to hadn't happened, but it seemed to have been a very important experience for Shannon in her own way. In the end, whether Jessica was jealous of Shannon or made fun of her, it didn't change the fact that Shannon had a huge lead on her. Ah! I want a boyfriend too! I can't believe you got ahead of me, even though we promised that we'd find boyfriends at the same time. You beat me! Ah! You're a wonderful person, milady, so I'm sure you'll find someone wonderful much quicker than me. Don't try to console me. Shannon, you traitor. Get out. Shut up! Jessica threw several cushions at her, but midway she had an asthma attack and started to choke pretty badly. Shannon hurriedly ran over to the near-side table and started searching around on top of it. A cute basket was placed there, and inside of it was Jessica's bronchodilator. Shannon picked it up and handed it over to Jessica. Jessica's asthma attack always came suddenly. Because of that, she always needed to carry this medicine around. She breathed in the medicine and, after a while, managed to overcome her choking as her asthma finally settled down. Shannon thought this a good chance to leave and tried to exit the room after bowing courteously. As she did, one more small cushion came flying and hit Shannon on the head. She noticed that Jessica was on the verge of crying, half of her face buried in her last and favorite cushion. That face was red and meek. "Milady? Shannon, be honest with me. Is my hairdo and stuff weird?" "What are you saying? I think your hair is very beautiful." Then, are my eyes strange, or maybe my nose? Or is it the way I talk, after all? Is that why I can't get a boyfriend?" "Of course not. Milady, you are wonderful enough as you are, and I think your charm will keep on increasing more and more from now on." "But I'm the only one who can't find a boyfriend. Saku and Hina manage to get boyfriends, but only I can't. Is it because I don't have any charm after all? You know, everyone says they'll bring their boyfriends to the cultural festival, and I was so sure I'd have a boyfriend before then, so I started bragging. There's no way I'll get a boyfriend. I'm the only one." Before she realized it, Jessica was shedding huge tears. Jessica didn't really feel like crying, and of course she felt like supporting Shannon's progress and love as a friend. However, as she had cheered Shannon on, her true feelings had suddenly gotten mixed in, and she couldn't help but shed tears. Shannon understood Jessica's innocent and easily injured heart. The rough style of speech Jessica usually used was all just an attempt to protect that fragile heart. As the daughter and successor to the Umineko family, and as a girl isolated in Rokkenjima, the only person she could expose her true feelings to was Shannon. Shannon understood that. So, she strongly regretted acting smug, even if it was only a little. "Sorry. I'm so weird crying like this. Sorry. You're a wonderful person, milady. There's no way you won't find a wonderful man." "Shannon, it's about time, right? If you don't go quickly, Genji-san and Mom will get mad." "I'm just fine, so hurry up." "I'm sorry for crying like this. I'm such a moron." Jessica faced away, acting as though she didn't really want to trouble Shannon, waving her hand as though chasing Shannon away. Shannon took that as a sign that Jessica didn't want to be bothered anymore, bowed her head, and left the room. I don't know when the story's gonna get spooky. It's whenever it happens to be. When Shannon's footsteps disappeared into the distance, Jessica lay down on her bed, still hugging a cushion. Her expression was still a little meek, with tears in her eyes. For the first time in a long time, she had a very, very quiet and honest conversation with her heart. "I also want to fall in love." My bad. Let me get WD-40. As Shannon happily watered the flower beds in the garden, she sensed someone's presence. She turned around, thinking that if one of the family had come to visit, she must greet them. But what she saw was that witch. "Beatrice-sama. It's been quite some time. How are you? Has your relationship with the one you love progressed since last we met?" Furniture beans. I did catch that. As Beatrice sat on the rose arch, she happily blew on her pipe. Sitting in a place like that would crush the roses, and it might have been dangerous if the arch fell over. But this was a witch, after all. Showing concern for her safety was probably a waste of time. "Yes, thanks to you, it's going smoothly. Naturally, the effects of my magic are immediate. Perhaps you feel your meeting was a predetermined fate. However, that is a mistake. Don't even think fate has anything to do with it." I understand that. The witch was calling attention to something. Two things, actually. First, that Shannon's relationship with George was a fate that'd be absolutely impossible under normal circumstances. Second, that the power of the witch was great enough to overrun that fact. Shannon had just gotten wrapped up in those sweet days and had started believing the illusion that all fate revolved around her. But she remembered the witch's words. Originally, her relationship with George had been impossible. No, it might be impossible in the future as well. Sorry, please forgive me. It's just like doctors. You clung to them when you're worried about your health, but after you're healed, you forget even to thank them. I've never been thanked as a witch, so I couldn't help acting a little rudely. Forgive me. The gratitude I feel has never slipped my mind. It's thanks to your power that I was able to achieve happiness, Beatrice-sama. And without that power, the fate that brought me and George-sama together would never have happened. I have never forgotten that. Sorry. It's not like I came here to bully you. Being rude is just part of my personality. Do forgive me. More importantly, I heard. So, you went on a trip alone with him. I imagine it must have been quite fun. Yes, it was very, fun. Shannon's face suddenly lit up. The witch laughed lightly as though amused by the speed of that transformation. Alrighty, the one you care for is more than the object of one-sided love. You are a pair of lovers now. When two people are filled with love, nothing else is needed to establish a complete world. Perhaps you could call that a wonderful, ideal world. Even witches would be jealous. Beatrice laughed pleasantly. That smile made her look as though she blessed the lovers' rendezvous from the bottom of her heart without a trace of malice. After that day, Beatrice had shown herself before Shannon every once in a while. Even now, Shannon thought of her as an unsettling being. However, she was also indebted to this person for the magic that led to her current relationship with George. So Shannon tried with all of her might not to act surprised or scared. That's right. Beatrice-sama, I bought some sweets as a souvenir from our trip. Would you, like to try some too? Oh? A souvenir for a witch? It seemed that even a witch who boasted of living for 1,000 years hadn't imagined that she'd receive a souvenir from a sweet lover's trip. When she saw that surprised expression, Shannon thought of the witch as a friend for the first time. Maybe it's like the episode 1 where it's that long bit before they actually, the first night, twilight or what have you. Oh, an Eastern cookie made from wheat flour and lard. To wrap that in Western chocolate is truly a blending of the Japanese and Western styles. The Silk Road of sweets. What? What's so funny? Nothing. My apologies. The witch, who surely held a terrifying power, was chomping down on sweets one after another, making a sound like a squirrel stuffing walnuts into its mouth. After a while, Shannon couldn't conceal her laughter. A good meal. I should serve you some dulce vita from Nero one of these days. Roses are the symbol of eternal love. I believe a rose dulce would be appropriate for you now. Roses, huh? The witch was in a great mood, fully enjoying modern candy. Here. I truly am grateful. I believe you've done more than enough for me already, so I'm returning this. The thing Shannon had softly set on the table was a gold-colored butterfly brooch. There is no need to return it. If you continue holding that, your relationship should remain firm in perpetuity. Maybe it was the power of magic that brought us together, but I think only the two of us working together can turn that into something that lasts forever. Love and roses are the same. Too much fertilizer causes the roots to rot. Sunflowers cannot be raised without hard work. In that case, do as you wish. You may wear it or keep it in a box. That is my goodwill given to you. Having you return it to me won't please me at all. My apologies. That's not what I... No harm has been done. That brooch is already yours. If you treasure that proof of our friendship, it would indeed bring me some comfort. You may hold on to it and gain its benefits, or you may keep it in a box. If you wish, you may even give it to another who is worrying about love. Or you could simply treasure it. Of course, it would pain my heart if you wasted it. According to Beatrice, she had appeared several times in the past in response to a person's summons, to give them some tool imbued with magical power. However, when most people used that power to resolve their worries, they quickly grew unsettled by it, forgot their former gratitude, and threw away the tools they had been given with disgust. So, it is quite rare for me to be thanked for my goodwill. In fact, this might even be the first time. The witch laughed heartily, but it looked like a sad laugh in Shannon's eyes. She herself had been like that in the past. No, maybe she was still like that now. Beatrice was definitely a witch with a strange and terrifying power. Most people probably wouldn't want to stick around here if they could help it. Surely, even those who had relied on that strange power sometimes felt fear rather than gratitude as a result. It must have deeply hurt the witch to have that happen over and over. Since the time she had started thinking that way, Shannon had tried to stop being frightened of Beatrice. This was surely something that had tormented the witch for over 1,000 years. Maybe she really liked those sweets. Beatrice, who normally spoke abusively, praised the black tea that Shannon served her and looked to be in remarkably high spirits. After doing that for a while, the witch and the servant grew animated in the discussions of the trip with George. The things Shannon actually knew about Beatrice were surprisingly few. First off, she was a ghost-like being who appeared in unexpected places at unexpected times. And it seemed that not everyone could perceive that she was there. Apparently, everyone has something called a wavelength, and the ability to perceive witches varies greatly among different people. Only Shannon and Cannon could interact with her enough to exchange words like this. There were a few people who could sense her presence, but most people couldn't even feel that much. From what Beatrice said, Kraus and his wife in particular had zero magical talent, and no matter how much she followed them around, they would never notice her. Once earlier, when Shannon messed up and Natsuhi got really mad at her, Beatrice had stayed, playing around, hitting Natsuhi on the head with her pipe. I see, Natsuhi really doesn't notice a thing. But Shannon, watching that, had burst out laughing without thinking I had gotten scolded even more. Headaches, huh? Then, what about the master? I hear he's been doing research in magic, so I'm sure he'll be able to notice you, Beatrice-sama. Kinzo is the same. He also has a pitiful lack of magical talent. It's the blood. He has so little talent that I pity him. As soon as they started talking about Kinzo, it felt like the atmosphere around Beatrice changed. She had spoken about Kraus and the rest's lack of magical talent as though she looked down on them, but she spoke of Kinzo in a different way. Anyone connected to the Ushirimiya family would know about Kinzo's legend of the gold. According to that, Kinzo was given the gold after summoning the witch Beatrice. In other words, she must have had some kind of relationship with Kinzo. That was because he succeeded despite having not even a scrap of talent. He kept studying by himself like mad and managed to become a magician. And that's something really incredible, right? Indeed. The witch who usually looked down on people was uncharacteristically offering her praise. While she lambasted him by saying he had no talent, she praised his efforts. And then the master summoned Beatrice-sama with the power of magic. Indeed? Well, I only answered the summons on a whim. After all, in this period where magic has long been denied, here was a man who was without a scrap of talent, yet so desperate to succeed. I thought I'd drop by and poke some fun at him, and that's when my luck ran out. Her choice of words highlighted how much of a disaster this had been for her. Shannon hesitated over whether it would be safe to continue the discussion, but Beatrice continued on her own, ignoring Shannon. After all, his contract did have a proper format and set of rules. Various procedures were mixed up, but, well, in deference to his enthusiasm, I graciously accepted it. Then, I gave him a mountain of gold. And then the master used that gold and succeeded in business and grew his wealth into what it is today. Indeed, his talent in magic was minimal, but it seems he had a knack for business and gambling. Or perhaps it was due to the bravery and madness that led him to risk everything on unreasonable bets. Madness sometimes acts as magical power. I see. If you look at it that way, perhaps it isn't quite fair to say he was completely lacking in magical talent. Shannon felt like she was daydreaming. While everyone in the Ushirimiya family knew the story of how Kinzo idolized black magic, summoned a witch and received the gold, in actuality it was all ramblings that no one believed in. And now, Shannon was having the story confirmed by the witch herself. She felt a little flustered by this incredible secret that only she knew. Once Kinzo gained his vast fortune, he could realize every dream that can be satisfied by objects obtainable in the human world. And in the end, he searched for the truth of this world. The truth of this world? The single element that makes up the world. Kinzo, who had gained everything one can obtain in the human world, searched for that, the final desire humans seek. The single element. She seemed to remember the witch using that word before. When Beatrice saw Shannon trying to remember what that was, she laughed bitterly, waving her hand and saying there was no need to worry. I underestimated Kinzo just a tad. I truly didn't expect him to display such power. And thanks to that, I'm in this state. I've been sewn in place in this island for several decades now, without even a friend to drink tea with. No matter who I try to talk to, my voice doesn't reach them. And no matter where I go, I cannot do anything. Such boring decades. As she laughed in self-derision, she tapped her teacup with her finger. It made the light sound of pottery. Shannon didn't know whether the word self-derision was really an accurate expression to describe the look on the witch's face. Shannon didn't understand everything, but she could more or less figure out the situation. And it was probably a topic that she couldn't press the witch on easily, not unless the witch started talking about it herself. To sum up everything she had said up until now, Beatrice, who had been summoned by Kinzo's magic, could not leave this island for some reason. And she had lost her power and her form, living her days in boredom. During that time, her words had reached Shannon, who never forgot to show sincere respect for the witch. And Shannon had helped the witch regain her power, if only a little bit. As a result, it was now possible for the witch to drink tea with Shannon like this. Beatrice-sama, what in the world was that mirror you told me to break? Ah, that. Long ago, it seems various things happened on this island around this area. Because of that, malignant forces gathered here and began to draw in an evil distortion. It seems a traveling Eastern magician or something built a shrine for the repose of souls and sealed them in here. That in itself has nothing to do with me, but unfortunately that magic power rested on a different foundation than mine. It created a strong interference with my magic and was extremely bothersome. Is that how it was? And I just assumed it existed only to seal you, Beatrice-sama. I was not its target, but it was a divine mirror. As a result, my power was sealed away. To use food as an example, maybe it would go something like this. Let's say the Western food I ordered is being made in the kitchen. However, when they try to set the table, the area for the guests seating is in the Japanese style with Japanese-style dishes. So the kitchen is unable to serve a plate that would be out of place, and no matter how long I wait, my Western food won't arrive. Something like that. So he destroyed that Japanese-style guest seating and returned the area to a blank slate for a time. Thanks to that, the meal I ordered was finally delivered, and my power came back, you could say. However, so far, only the aperitif has arrived. It will still be quite some time before the main dish. As I am now, I'm even more fragile than a shoe-sore fairy. What's so amusing? Nothing. I just thought your metaphor was pretty funny. I never would have thought to use a story about food as a metaphor for magic. I thought it a rather skillful comparison, but I certainly didn't expect it to be laughed at. I'm a bit offended. A slightly sulky expression rose to the witch's face. It wasn't a strange expression at all to be appearing on the face of some friends as they enjoyed their tea. Although I may not look it, I was known for doing extremely brutal things in the past. I've gotten soft. Now I can even have a foolish discussion while drinking tea with a human. She was probably talking to herself. As Beatrice gazed at the seabirds tracing the horizon, she put her tea to her lips again. The clouds have come out. When the ocean loses its brilliance, it's nothing more than a gray puddle. You think so? I think the ocean is a beautiful, deep blue, even when it gets cloudy. Maybe the witch noticed the deep meaning behind Shannon's words. She laughed lightly and set down her empty teacup. It seems those things buried in your eyes aren't black pebbles anymore. How is it? Do you see how it feels for furniture to be reborn as a human? Yes. I never knew the world was this kind. Since the start of her relationship with George, Shannon's face had grown brighter more often. Her smile had made everything go smoothly and had even changed her fortune. Shannon made less mistakes in her work than she had before, and the family members' opinions of her was slowly starting to change. Just the other day, she had been surprised when Kraus, who rarely exchanged words with her, had suddenly started talking to her. You've been wearing a splendid smile more often lately, haven't you? Has something good happened? No, but every day is fun, yes. Wonderful. It goes without saying that coffee is more delicious when poured with a smile. Could I ask for that smile once more? Yes, sir. That had become a chance for Shannon to gain confidence in herself. Of course, it didn't go beyond her own heart, and it wasn't so big a change that anyone would notice, but she had begun to change, bit by bit. Shannon understood it clearly. Knowing love was the same as gaining a soul, the same as being reborn from furniture into a human. There was absolutely nothing mistaken in Beatrice's words. By knowing love, Shannon had learned what it was to be human. These have been unusual snacks. It was time well spent. It's probably about time for you to return to your work. So let us end our tea party now. After all, it seems a certain person doesn't like seeing us drink tea together. Huh? The witch gripped a teaspoon and flipped it with her fingers, setting it up in the air. After that, it was launched by the fingers of some invisible person and flew straight into a nearby bush. The bush shook violently and Cannon came out. It seemed he had been there for some time, watching their tea party. The spoon was gripped in his hand. If he hadn't caught it in an instant, it might have hit him hard in the forehead and caused him to start oozing blood. Do not worry. Our tea party is over now, Cannon. How long were you there? If you had called to us, I'd have poured you some tea, too. I imagine that you didn't want to interrupt a pair of women talking, right? Cannon kept silent, but there seemed to be a slightly hostile look in his eyes. On the outside, he acted with respect, but unlike Shannon, Cannon did not trust the witch. When Beatrice hit the table with her pipe, the tea set turned into gold butterflies which flew upward all at once. They then scattered in every direction, and the cleanup was already done. It was fun, Shannon. Let us meet again if the chance arises. My magical power is still quite lacking. It's tiring even to show myself. If you're that tired, never appear again. Cannon said it in a small voice, but the witch seemed to have heard it perfectly. She giggled, but did not reply. Shannon, tell me more about George at our next tea party. There are no snacks sweeter than a person's love life. See you again. Beatrice's body also became gold butterflies, which scattered in all directions and disappeared. It was a fantastical and beautiful scene, like a blizzard of gold leaf. For a while, Shannon quietly watched the witch's exit. Cannon approached her from behind and spoke with an expression that was drastically different from hers. Nay, son, didn't I tell you to stay away from her? Beatrice Thomas isn't that bad of a person. Yes, she might be a little shady, but the fact that only we can see her is suspicious enough. That thing isn't human. Who knows what she might be planning? Cannon-kun, I think that's a little rude. There was a touch of sternness in Shannon's voice, which was unusual for her. To Cannon, who knew her well, she must have sounded extremely stern. Cannon, looking excessively surprised, considering Shannon's tone, fell silent. It's true that Beatrice Sama is different from humans. She has a terrifying power, so I think it's right for us to fear and respect her. Still, I think it's incredibly rude to despise her just because she isn't human. I understand what you're trying to say, Nason. You've changed ever since she gave you that brooch. It's like you're her prisoner. She brought you and George Sama together, and now you're indebted to her. Don't say things like that. That thing isn't human. We don't know what she's thinking, so you mustn't trust her. And we aren't humans either, Nason. Cannon's words grew more serious. Those words probably gouged at Shannon's heart. She bit her lower lip and hung her head. We are furniture. Even if we receive names and are treated as humans, that won't change the manner of our birth. You are no longer furniture. Those words Beatrice had given her, which had made her happiest, floated through Shannon's mind. I am not furniture. No, you are furniture. We are less than human. Nason, you're just pretending to have forgotten, pretending to be human. You know that as well as I do. I'm not furniture. I'm human. No, you aren't. We have never possessed what it takes to love or be loved. Cannon's criticism seemed to have shifted away from Shannon's meeting with the witch. Shannon picked up on that quickly. I heard from a lady. Seriously, what were you thinking? I can't believe you would go on a trip with George Sama. You've forgotten your place as furniture. You've just been tempted by that witch, mistakenly believing you've become human. Listen, Cannon-kun. It's true that we're furniture. Lesser beings inferior to humans. But if it were possible to make up for what we lack, wouldn't that be the same as becoming human? Such a thing could never happen. No, it could. If we can do that, we won't be furniture anymore. We can become human. I don't know, maybe? Ridiculous. As if you could ever do such a thing. Cannon spat those words out, but did so weakly and turned away. He was probably giving up. After all the suffering he'd undergone during those days he'd lived as furniture, his heart was firmly sealed. You can do it too, Cannon-kun. You can become a normal human. Stop it. That's the witch talking. Yes, Beatrice-sama taught me. By obtaining the single element of this world, we can become human. Or rather, nobody's human if they don't have that. That's why people spend their entire lives trying to gain that single element. I don't understand what you're saying, Nason. I don't want to listen or to ranting. Then I'll teach you in a way even you can understand. Look, see what I'm pointing at? Shannon quietly pointed at the sea towards the horizon. Cannon didn't understand what she meant and couldn't do anything except look between the horizon and Shannon's expression, which seemed to be posing a riddle. The sea. Cannon-kun, what colors does the sea look to you? It was an extremely simple question. For a while, Cannon tried to guess at the meaning behind it, but he couldn't think of anything, so he answered obediently. It's a hazy, dark gray color. So what? Objectively speaking, the sea, laid out beneath a cloudy sky, could probably be described best by Cannon's words. But as Shannon closed her eyes and smiled, she shook her head slightly. It looks deep blue to me. Is that what you mean? Like how Japanese people use the word blue to refer to a green traffic light? No. The sea is deep blue. If I understand and you don't, then that's the difference between us. Cannon bit his lower lip and was silent for a while. I don't understand. Cannon-kun, would you stick out your hand? As Cannon was taken aback, unable to understand what she was saying, she took his arm and opened the palm of his hand. Shannon softly set something there. It was that magic brooch which she had received from Beatrice. A magic charm shaped like a gold butterfly that could bring love to fruition. This is hers? No, this is mine. So think of it as me and treat it with respect, okay? After being spoken to like that, he couldn't just throw it away. Cannon didn't know what he should do, and he stood there confused for a while, the brooch still on the palm of his hand. Shannon put the palm of her hand on top of Cannon's, and the brooch was warmed by both of their hands. This charm holds true magical power. I'm sure it'll teach you an important emotion, Cannon-kun. There's nothing to be learned from that person's magic. No, there is something. So wear it. If that's embarrassing, I hear it's okay if you just hide it in your pocket. Ridiculous. As if I'd let the magic of that person lead me astray. Even as he said that, Cannon couldn't be cold-hearted towards something Shannon was urging him to take. In the end, Cannon took it and agreed reluctantly, saying he'd prove that he wouldn't surrender to the witch's power. Shannon smiled and nodded back. I'm sure you'll be able to learn something important from it, and I'm sure you can become human. And when you do, I'm sure this ocean will look like a beautiful blue to you as well, Cannon-kun. Gray is gray no matter how many times you look. That's wrong, Cannon-kun. It only looks like that because you have no... Huh? Because of the howling wind, he hadn't been able to catch the main point of what she just said. So Shannon said it once more. The single element of the world. She spoke once more of the world where it existed, where the sea was deep blue. I'm sure you'll be able to see a deep blue ocean too. After all, without love it cannot be seen. I remember a similar thing happening in episode 1. Who is that? It is Cannon, Master. It was rare for Kinzo to leave his study. However, the fact that he had didn't mean his noble research had been suspended. He may have left the study because of a change in mood, but that didn't mean the thoughts filling his head were any different from those he had while inside the study. Cannon knew that no matter what the time, speaking to the Kinzo when he didn't want to be spoken to would always disturb his research. It's cloudy out there. Will it get worse? Yes. According to the weather report, it could rain at any time. Shall I bring an umbrella? It will not come to that. Leave me alone for a while. My children say that you do not know where I am. I am busy on a journey through my own thoughts. Certainly. Then if you would excuse me. Before Kennen finished bowing, Kinzo had already returned to his own world, having forgotten Kennen's presence completely. And once again he began rambling to himself. Amidst those words, the name of that witch popped up many times. Oh, Beatrice, my hand will not reach your smile. What can I do to revive you? What can I do to make you smile at me once more? What is lacking? My research, my materials, my catalyst? Or is it magical power, or luck, or an oracle? Oh, Beatrice, what can I do to see your face one more time? Oh. As Kennen listened to his master's weeping voice with his back turned, he turned around just once. When he did, right behind his isolated old master was the shadow of a person who shouldn't have been there. It was the witch. At once, thinking that the witch must be plotting to do Kinzo some harm, Kennen dashed back to Kinzo and tried to form a shield with his body. But when he saw the expression on the witch's face, that emotion of his had vanished. After all, Beatrice's expression was sorrowful, or maybe pitying. You fool, Kinzo. Can't you see me, even though I am here? Right behind Kinzo, as he repeated the witch's name over and over, desiring to be reunited with her more than anything else, was the witch herself. And yet Kinzo didn't notice anything. When Beatrice tried to rest her hand on his shoulder, he didn't notice. Why does my hand not reach Beatrice's smile? Is it the age of the moon, the cycle of the comets, the alignments of the planets? What is lacking? What is? It's useless, Kinzo. Without love, it cannot be seen. Kennen took the brooch he had received from Shannon out of his pocket. By learning something new, would he be able to glimpse something he couldn't see now? Without love, it cannot be seen. He looked at Kinzo's back once more. The witch could no longer be seen there. Interspersed bits of important information, but no real reference for why. Yep. Okay, we're good. The biggest fall event for the Ushimiya family was the family conference in October. But to Jessica, there was another major event that came before that. The school cultural festival. Jessica liked school. To her, it was a place where she could let out the stress she'd built up from the rigid lifestyle she was forced to lead at home. For today's cultural festival, she'd formed a group with her friends and had announced that they'd perform some light music on a temporary stage. My bad, I'm sorry. My bad. She had prepared and practiced for this over and over until today, always anxiously awaiting this day's arrival. But there was one thing that worried her. She looked at the clock. There was still a little bit of time, but she felt uneasy. Would that person really come? After taking a single deep breath, her heart jumped when all her friends suddenly started speaking in shrill voices. No way! He and his boyfriend's so awesome! Isn't he? Ren's boyfriend looks really smart. Is that true? Guys, glasses beast? No way, my husband's a pretty boy. It may not be like this for all girls, but at least at Jessica's school, the cultural festival was basically a boyfriend exhibition. Jessica didn't have a boyfriend. She had many friends of the opposite sex, but no special only one. But Jessica was a little famous around the school, and everyone thought it'd be natural for her to have a fitting partner. Furthermore, her pride had led her to pretend that this was true. She'd somehow managed to keep them fooled until this year. But for various reasons, she hadn't been able to escape this year's cultural festival. Jessie, is your boyfriend here? What? No, looks like he's not here yet. Maybe he's busy with work. What kind of person is he, Jessie? At least give us a hint. What kind of relationship? Awesome. So he's a working man? Will he come in a suit? Of course he's wearing glasses, right? Hey, he actually doesn't exist, right? If you come clean now, we'll let you join us. Let's cry together through this year's cultural festival. No, he exists. I told you, he really exists. Jessica's bitter smile was covered with cold sweat. It was starting to seem doubtful whether she really had deceived her sharp-witted friends. Okay, then how about making a fake boyfriend and taking him with you? A fake? Who? I can't think of anyone who'd do that. Shannon's ridiculous plan surprised Jessica into hysterics. Even so, it was probably more realistic than the crazy methods running through her head about getting a boyfriend in this big rush before the cultural festival. For example, what about Cannon-kun? Cannon-kun? No way, no way. Anyway, I'm sure Cannon-kun has work on the days of the festival, and I don't want to bother him. Of course, I've already checked the schedule. Cannon-kun has that day off. Why are you always so clever when it comes to stuff like this? No, wait. It'd be even worse if he's off. I can't pull him away from a precious day off just for my own vanity. If you don't pull Cannon-kun away, he'll always be shut away by himself. So I think it'd be perfect if you could drag him out of his shell. You think so? No, but I'd feel bad for him. Then I guess you're out of options. How about meekly confessing to everyone that you don't have a boyfriend? True, it may be terribly embarrassing, but you'd only have to endure it for the short and yet long time before graduation. To a pair of lovers, there's no sweeter honey than the face of a single person with an inferiority complex. Shannon! You aren't really worrying for my sake, are you? You're teasing me, right? Jessica wrestled about with Shannon, her eyes teary. But Shannon was unfazed, laughing with her usual smile. Yes, this is to get you back for making fun of me and George-sama all the time. Listening to Shannon's comeback, the likes of which didn't happen even once a year, Jessica hugged her cushion and rolled around on her bed, pretending to faint in agony. She couldn't stand Shannon's smile, which looked so triumphant. But right now, she was the only person Jessica could talk with. She could choke her to death with her cushion later. Is it really so bad, milady? It's a cultural festival, but it's also a chance for you to have fun with Cannon-kun. No, that may be true, but no. Jessica buried her head on her favorite pillow to hide the fact that her face had grown bright red, and she grumpily chewed the fingernail on her thumb. It really was a reaction to be appreciated. Shannon and Jessica were of about the same age, of the same sex and friends, and they were both right in the middle of puberty. They could never talk enough about love. That's why they could talk freely about these topics to each other. So, Jessica had heard a lot about how Shannon and George's love was progressing, and Shannon had heard a lot about what type Jessica liked, what kind of man she might be interested in. Judging by Jessica's reaction, it would probably be rude for us to go into precisely what these things were. However, this story won't get anywhere if we just have Jessica rolling around forever, so let's dive in. Jessica had been thinking about Cannon ever since he'd shown up. It was extremely rare for young men to visit Rokkenjima. Maybe it was natural for Jessica, a girl in puberty, to develop an interest in Cannon. But if anyone said that, it would destroy the romantic ideals of a maiden's pure heart and love at first sight. Shannon had been with Cannon a long time at the orphanage, so she'd known him since before they started working. So, Jessica had asked persistently about what his hobbies were, what his favorite food was, what type of girl he liked. Even to Shannon, it was clear that Jessica was infatuated with Cannon. Come on. Isn't this a good chance to take Cannon-kun on a date? But Cannon-kun might also have someone he likes, so wouldn't he take it badly if I made him go with me just to show off? People who aren't honest with themselves like you are... What was that word I learned from George-sama? That's right, I think it was Sundora. Apparently, they'll be all the rage in a decade or so. Wow, George Nissan sure is incredible, managing to foresee future trends like that. Awesome. No, wait. Are you saying I'm living in the wrong decade? I give up. Interesting sound effects. It took several days of wasted efforts, but in the end, Jessica agreed to the plan of having Cannon pretend to be her boyfriend. Yes, milady. Did you call me? Jessica regretted calling out at such a bad time. Cannon always looked sullen, but he had some bad days and some better days. Unfortunately, this reaction was the former. No, well, all that confidence and effort she'd built up practicing in front of a mirror all night was wiped out in about 5 seconds. Jessica turned bright red and hung her head. When he saw that, Kenan sighed. Jessica thought that he was exasperated with her and her face went pale. I heard from Shannon. This is about having me go with you to the school cultural festival, right, m'lady? Huh? Nice one, Shannon. I mean, yeah, that's right, but, do you have any plans that day? I was strictly ordered by Shannon to work specially for you on that day, m'lady. I've never been to high school, so I don't really understand, but I hear it's a place where girls can be shamed if they don't have a boy with them. And I was given special orders to see to it that the daughter of the Ushirimiya family is in no way inferior to the common people. Shannon, I'll beat you to death later. Jessica kept yelling with a strange voice and a broken smile like a tea kettle filled with boiling water. As Kenan watched this, he sighed again. Kenan wasn't an idiot either. He fully understood what Jessica intended by inviting him. But to be honest, playing along with Jessica's love game seemed like it'd be nothing more than an annoyance to him. However, Shannon had asked him over and over. He was deeply indebted to her, so he couldn't refuse. And that brooch was in his pocket. Could the strange turn of events have been brought about by the magic power residing in this brooch? Ridiculous. But he remembered what Shannon had said to him that day. Could Shannon see something he couldn't? I don't understand Shannon's feelings. We are furniture. As if we could ever become anything more. It was a truly odd exchange between Jessica, who was still rambling on in a strange voice, and Kenan, who had sighed deeply. Jessie, someone's here. Didn't you hear? Huh? Sorry. Who is it? As my friends all gathered together, they were looking this way with hard-to-describe expressions, whispering to each other in small voices that weren't small anymore. My attempt to play dumb felt pretty transparent, even to me. Did I really just say, sorry, who is it? Like I don't know who just showed up. It's useless. My mind's going blank. No way, that's Jesse's boyfriend? He's so cute! Wait, he's real? No way, seriously, Jesse, you traitor? He's incredible. He's younger? I never heard he was younger. Where's Jesse's boyfriend? She really is into little kids. Hey, aren't you late? I didn't know where the entrance was. I must apologize for my tardiness. Right, that outfit looks really good on you. Shannon said normal clothes wouldn't do, so we went and bought this the other day. Does it look strange on me? That's not true. Shannon, when I get back, I'll promote you 2 levels. It feels like everyone here's a girl. It's uncomfortable. Yeah, isn't it? Come on, let's not hang around here. Let's go to the stage, okay? Because I'll be up pretty soon. Come on. Jessica seemed just as uncomfortable. It looked like being bathed in everyone's interested gazes was hard on her. When he saw Jessica's appearance, Kenan thought he might have made things difficult for her by coming. I get the feeling I'm getting in the way. Am I being a burden? I told you, no way. Please tell me at any time if I start getting in the way. Yeah, no way. He calls himself Boku. There's no way you'd get in the way, Kenan-kun. Yeah, she calls her boyfriend Kun. What would you like me to do, m'lady? No way, she makes him call her m'lady. Like a butler. Oh my god. No, you can't call me m'lady today. Is that so? As you wish, Jessica-sama. Yeah, she's trained him to call her Sama. Sorry, Kenan-kun, could you close your eyes for just 3 seconds? Yeah, a kiss, it's a kiss. She's gonna kiss him. As you wish. Bang, thunk, bam, bam, slap. Crash. By the time Kenan opened his eyes, a horrible tragedy occurred in the room. Everyone had been driven into the walls, their arms and legs outstretched. Jessica slipped her brass knuckles back into her pocket before Kenan's eyes opened. Anyway, let's go over to the stage. Our turn's coming up soon, so take a seat and wait for a bit. Because we're getting ready. We've got to get ready. Go straight to the end here and you'll see a temporary stage. You'll know where to go. Please wait there. She pushed Kenan back, as he seemed to be having trouble moving himself, and chased him out. Even though Cannon was confused by Jessica's attitude and her panicky state, which he'd never seen before, he followed her instructions and headed in the direction she had indicated. After seeing him off with an awkward smile, Jessica slammed the door shut and yelled loudly, "There you go! You saw, right? You saw that. Are you happy now?" "Sucks for you." "I lost the bet. I was sure Jessie didn't have a boyfriend." "Are you sure that was her boyfriend? I'll bet she's just using one of her servants, right?" Jessie's boyfriend's incredible." "Shut up! Come on, let's get ready." Well, Jessica took brass knuckles out of her pocket and everyone energetically returned to their tasks. Brass knuckles. Gotta love them, I guess. Cannon went down the corridor Jessica had shown him and ran into a temporary stage set up where the vending machines should have been. It was probably being rented by the hour by some group or club. The ones singing were student groups, but the crowd was still incredibly excited. Disliking that clatter, he leaned against the wall in the darkness by himself. So this is what they call high school. It sure is noisy. That's what Cannon thought. Then he remembered Jessica just now acting in a way that he'd never seen before. Honestly, she was in such high spirits that alcohol might have been involved. To him, remaining composed and intellectual at all times was the highest virtue. In that sense, it was very hard for Ken to get used to the atmosphere of a school cultural festival. He had a responsibility to report everything he saw and heard to the master. So he also had to report about how Jessica had acted without restraint either. At the very least, it was not fitting for the daughter of the Ushimiya head family. The master, Kraus-sama, and especially Natsuhi-sama, will probably be angry. If I am to report it in a way that protects Milady, should I blame it on inappropriate school friends? What was all that? So stupid. Cannon thought back on how Jessica had acted earlier and sighed again. He could understand Natsuhi's headache a little now. Come to think of it, Natsuhi-sama, as the president of the PTA, was supposed to go to an informal gathering after attending the ceremony in the gymnasium. She said she wouldn't be able to see Milady's performance, didn't she? That's probably for the best. Crowds certainly are unpleasant. What in the world is going on? Several female students kept glancing at me. It seems they're all whispering the same things Milady's school friend said, and it's truly unpleasant. Come to think of it, didn't Shannon warn me? If you walk alone at something like a school festival, you'd better watch out because lots of strange people will come and talk to you. Excuse me, are you by yourself? Just as expected, a group of girls I'd never met started talking to me. Their stares started to make my back tingle. Didn't you tell me some magic words that could chase them off in times like this? Sorry. I'm with someone. Oh, really? I'm sorry. Ah, it worked. Instant reaction. Well, that got rid of them, but it hasn't really changed the number of people staring at me. No, it's that kid. That's Jessie's boyfriend? No way. It's that kid? I can't believe it. I was sure he was fake. Isn't he cute? So he's younger? Lucky Jessie. Yeah. There's no way I'll ever come to a place like this again. Cannon sighed for about the zillionth time that day. When he did, the lighting changed, and the standing audience started cheering. He looked around and realized that there was suddenly a large group of people there. And unlike earlier, they were mostly guys. With this huge crowd, he couldn't even see the stage. Fortunately, there was a fallen beer case nearby, so he tried using that as a footstool. When he did, he realized that there was now a new group on the stage. Their leader is Milady. She's changed into stage clothes, and she's even holding a guitar. I didn't know she could play. Then again, maybe she can play. I've seen her practicing air guitar before. Natsui-sama wouldn't approve of any hobbies outside of study. Maybe she was always practicing in secret. Come to think of it, she's been returning really late from school recently, hasn't she? Maybe she's been practicing at school, far away from Natsui-sama's prying eyes. I wouldn't really call that emo. More reserved. At least my understanding of that phrase, anyway. It really is for the best that Natsui-sama didn't come. If Milady were to get scolded by Natsui-sama after putting so many hours of practice in, she'd probably be dejected. Jessie-sama! Everyone, thanks for gathering here today. I could hear Jessica-sama's forceful voice through the speakers. Jessie-sama? Maybe that's her nickname at school. The students in the audience kept calling out that name. I'm a little offended by that crude name. It's inappropriate for Milady. Jessica-sama was in high spirits as they kept shouting Jessie-sama. Everyone here was probably a fan. Her mic performance picked up on that and electrified them even more. It was almost like a music program on TV. At first he thought this was all silly, but that feeling had changed into appreciation. It was incredible, in its own way. Canon never listened to music of his own free will, but he'd often heard the kind of music the Ushirimiya family liked. Since it was almost all classical, Canon had naturally taken a liking to that kind of music. So to Canon, the song Jessica sang was, how should you say it, extremely colorful. In any case, if Natsuhi-sama heard it, she'd probably faint. Right, that's how he... Alright. That was a little bit unexpected. But everyone looked like they were having a really good time. Some diehard fans who had even brought pen lights. That was Jessica, by the way, I'm pretty sure. Sang along and danced crazily with the same movements, almost as though it had been planned ahead. On the stage, Jessica-sama also sang enthusiastically, dripping with sweat. He couldn't find a single element that was appropriate for a daughter of the Ushirimiya family, but it looked like so much fun. Jessie-sama, Jessie, Jessie! Again, today, behind me, the sound of footsteps. Ushirimiya-sama is talking me. Curses, disappearances, sacrifices, torture. Onika Kushi does to make gods good snack? Don't say Marissa. I butchered that horribly, but... I must not go along with it, but at any rate, Milady is full of life and looks like she's having a great time. As I watched Milady enjoying herself, I thought, could this be Ushirimiya Jessica's true nature? Don't I know better than anyone that during her life on Rokkenjima she's had no choice but to kill her sense of self? For the time she spends, not as Milady, successor to the Ushirimiya family, but as a single girl called Jessica, living life to the fullest, must be very important to her. I've worked close to Milady, seeing her in all seasons, and though I thought I knew everything about her, but that was all limited to one side of her, the Milady of Rokkenjima. Pet Nico's flat chest, huh? Flat is justice, apparently. We are furniture. We serve on Rokkenjima and end our lives on Rokkenjima. I've come to think of Rokkenjima itself as our whole world. As though, like in telematic theory, the ocean spilled off the end of the world into an abyss. But when I look at Milady like this, I can see how horribly narrow that outlook is. I still can't go along with the excitement of the crowd, but I feel like I can see something that cannot be seen on Rokkenjima. I'm not sure if this is the unseeable thing Shannon was talking about, but the ocean still doesn't look blue to me. Thought that was gonna go red for a second there. Russia. Cool. We get more worldly this channel. Wasn't the cultural festival at Jessica's school today? How was the principal doing? He seemed to be in good health. That's right. Diet member Takamiya was also there. He said to give you his regards. Busy as usual? It appeared so. That person is also very energetic. Oh, and I believe President Imoto also made an appearance. Naturally, the topic of Jessica's cultural festival came up at dinner. School events often became social gatherings for local volunteers. It was the same for the Ushirimiya family, who were celebrities around here. Natsuhi remembered the name of one VIP after another at the social gathering, telling crowds the news about them. Proper introductions. You're from Russia, I am from America. Washington, which is the top west corner of the country. Northwest corner. Literally. Way the hell out there. So, welcome from the other side of the world. I think the closest was the Czech. That was Garfina, I think is one. Was that Bara? Either Garfina or Bara, who were from Czech. Jessica didn't really have any interest in that discussion and rudely slurped her pumpkin soup. Milady, perhaps you ought to take more care with your manners. Yeah, sorry about that. Jessica. St. Petersburg. Alright, I've heard that name. Can't place it. You'll have to tell me and I'll be able to put it on my map up there. Jessica, how many times must I tell you to watch your language? Yes, ma'am. Jessica answered, discouraged. When he saw that, Kraus smiled a little and paused his conversation with Natsuhi. How was the festival for you, Jessica? Huh? Well, it was okay. I was watching. You did an excellent job. Huh? Huh? Well, Jessica's face turned bright red. Bara. Alright, okay. I knew Garfield didn't quite fit right. Bara. Okay. I should have known that. She probably hadn't imagined that Natsuhi would actually come to see her on stage. She felt a mix of happiness and embarrassment. Netherlands. Okay. Right. Yep. Okay. Okay, yep. Like, too many names and countries to keep track of. Right. Okay. I knew that. I just temporarily lost some information. Actually, she hadn't really wanted her mother to watch, since she didn't want to be told that her music was inappropriate for the Ushimiya family. But it certainly didn't make her unhappy to hear her parents say she'd done a good job after watching her try her best. Yes, it is. Jessica acted with both composure and dignity. Fitting behavior for the students representative. Oh, yeah. The smile that had been there until a second ago crumbled like sand. Jessica immediately realized that her mom was talking about something different. Jessica was also the school's student president. She had no interest in doing something so annoying, but her parents had been pushy, so she grudgingly accepted. Unfortunately, she was popular at school, so she won the election easily. So, Natsuhi was praising her for the student council sponsorship ceremony at the beginning of the cultural festival. Actually, she had just carried that out half-heartedly. After that, she immediately met up with her friends and held a stage rehearsal for the rest of the time. That experience of standing above people and bearing responsibility will surely prove useful in the future. I'm sure it will help Jessica mature as a member of the Ushimiya family. Yes, it's Germany. Frankenfurt? That's the name I want to say, but... Frankfurt. That's the name I want to say, but it... No. Starts with an H. God. As soon as you say it, I will remember it fully. It's... That's not language. I know it. I would recognize it as soon as you said it. God. I need to start writing this stuff down. No, Frankfurt was the first one that popped in my head, but I know it's wrong. It's... Starts with an H. I need to practice German again. Pick that back up. Yep. Frankfurt was the name my dad was talking about when he was doing trips. That's why I remember that one. Oh, God. That's gonna bug me for the rest of the day. I know that name. I know that name. What the hell is it? I'll remember it. I will remember it. I will. Just give me a minute to do so. Back to the story. I know that name, but I can't remember it. I know the name. I know that name. That experience of standing above people and bearing responsibility will surely prove useful in the future. I'm sure it will help Jessica mature as a member of the Ushirimiya family. But you rushed a little while giving the greeting. You get a pass on content, but the fast pace of your speech lessened the impact. It might help you develop a habit of pausing every once in a while. Yeah. Might actually be a good time to end the stream too. It's getting about that time. God, I know that I can't recall it, but I know if as soon as I see it, I will see it. No, actually, yeah. So let's do that. I'm gonna call stream and then go look at a map and try and find the name and get back to you on Discord. That and I'm gonna go eat breakfast too, cause it's breakfast time over here. Woohoo! 6 o'clock. Time to eat. Anyway, it's been a very soppy episode. Lots of lovey-dovey and embarrassing conversations, but a lot of odd little snippets of important magical information. Anyway, no, but I know the name. I can't recall it off the top of my head, but I know the name. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I'll see you guys later, and I'll get back to you. Anyway, take care. Well, hell, I don't really even know most of the cities in my own country, state, or area. Anyway, take care all. Have a good one. And remember, the single element of the world, very important. Very important.